Hello. So I am filming my courses that I developed for Silicon Valley adult education. Um, this, you can see 56 results. Some of them are courses, modules, orientations, introductions. So within the LMS called Commons or Canvas, in Commons, which is across the spectrum, anyone who uses Canvas can find these courses and use them. So there's a combination of civics, various English and CTE courses, workforce readiness courses, employment, soft skills. COAP just stands for Civics Objective Additional Assessment Plan. And then you have English 1 through 5. 5 is a transitions course that helps them get into community college. So we help them with resume writing and cover letters, understanding the difference between Modern Language Association and APA citations and notations, paraphrasing and citing your source, bibliography versus works cited, really important so that they are not plagiarizing papers or misusing different images in their paperwork as well, that they're also able to cite it in a slide deck, for example. Okay. Forms, discussions, prompts. Um, COAB is just the California Objective for Adult Basic Education. And so that would be for adults who need to beef up their skills before entering in to a high school diploma course or a GED high set recovery for units. And so that's kind of an in between course between high school and community college if they were getting ready to do that. Basics in math, setting up on basic skills course, and then we would tap into multiple online libraries, some of them free, some of them my site purchased. So Khan Academy would be online, that's one of them. And then Edmentum, we purchased licenses for our students. And Plato Edmentum also has different things in there like Exact Path, Study Island, and Essentials for Adult Learning through COAB is a different one that we looked into, as well as Ingenuity or Aztec software enrollment, which is digital libraries that put all of the anthologies, the thick textbooks from all the different math courses, biology courses, science courses, physics, chemistry, history, U.S. history, government, econ, world history, geography, English anthologies, kind of knitting together all of those anthologies. It doesn't matter about the vendor. Like we used to contract with vendors from Prentice Hall to McDougall Littell, all those different McGruder's, all of those units are now on a digital library. So it all of the PDFs for all of those stories, it doesn't matter if it's Edgar Allan Poe or a unit on the Bill of Rights, for example, or a unit on macro or microeconomics, for example. Those different units are there in toto, all of them, on a digital library at the touch of a search button, searching for teachers. And it'll have audio files and corresponding videos. Uh, a while back, we used to have the entire package that would come to the school, and different schools would have VHS or discs or audio files and all the supplementals. Now everything is all in one place in a digital library. So a school does need to invest in a digital library. There are many free online sources. It just takes a lot of legwork, and then a district would need a coach or a curriculum specialist to kind of knit all of that together. And that's what my district did in making me the academic project coordinator for all the subject areas here. and you can see it carries on. The lounge was something we did. We called it, it was the online version of a teacher's room we did during COVID, which would house all of our training. And so all of our announcements would come through there. It was very useful. So you would click into here, and you would be able to get a campus map, blended teacher learning model, PPE request form, sign up sheets for different things, reopening plans, faculty agendas, monthly agendas, blended learning model, WASC updates, communication, frontline, everything that you would normally have physically in a teacher's room. You would be able to find it on the SVAE Digital Staff Lounge. So we kind of did that. And then we had bulletins, and we just kept updating it. So it was really useful. And then there was a module in there for specifically for students, so that if teachers were creating a Bitmoji classroom, they could have a module link that would help students get acclimated to the syllabi, or the course outline for the year. They could get a monthly calendar or a week of work in advance, pacing, expectations, in office checks, whatever the procedures of the, in particular, teacher and course, and what they would do. We had a boot camp to get teachers' skills up and running. This took quite a few days to get done. And so each one of these are able to get downloaded, and I can go directly to my share and get the teacher work days, the boot camp. So there's a bunch of different things we did during teacher boot camp. We would acclimate new teachers and old teachers who are already in play. We would talk about Canvas course shells. We would give them a blueprint course that they would already have some work available, probably 2 months of work pre-planned for them that they could dig into, play with, adapt, work with. And then we would have teacher work days during the fall, first quarter, and build out the second semester so that they get hands-on tools. They kind of get a sense of how they want to package the curriculum to the students, and once they get to know their students, what the students are interested in visually, paper, what papers they need, what books, supplemental things like that. Talk about the vision, mission of our students, and then we would do pair share. We would demonstrate these techniques with the teachers, and we did all of this online. Data driven instruction using data. We went back over that. We used TED Talks. We used a lot of that, open source. We talked about the resilient educator and all of that introduction. We went to the research, Marzano and Dufour. We tried to go through that. And then the mindset, Carol Dweck's work, growth mindset, how it works and why it matters. Really important. And then we did temperature checks and boot camps. We did a goose chase. That was really fun. And then we talked about different outside resources for updating professional development, from COAB to OTAN to links to the South Bay Consortium, the Learning Focus, and we would divvy this up and we would talk about synchronous versus asynchronous learning, and that was really useful. Blended learning, being really conscious of our time, and learning mastery. Then we talked about Jamboards and using little slides like this that either played music so that when students would happen onto a Zoom platform, they knew they were in the right place if they kind of saw, oh, right, it's break time and they're going to come back in a few minutes. And then that we would get into publishing Canvas and just the do's and don'ts for being online in an online medium. That was really important. I talked about these classes and building the model, and then we had links in here and different outside vendors. And then we had some summary and some thoughtfulness involved and different videos involved in the boot camp and getting ready. So all of these things were really important. We thought that that was instrumental in getting our teachers up and running and ready for the big push during COVID. And this was critical. And then we just kept it going for the last 2 years and built upon it. So I think it will be useful for any school going forward in the future, since many of our, although we're secondary education, we're high school and higher, adult ed and community college based classes. The younger age groups of primary, elementary, and middle school students have all been similarly trained, whether they're using Canvas or Seesaw or any other learning medium. They learned those tech skills rapidly as well. So, school districts will need to think of a way forward that incorporates just this sense of hybrid learning, and that might really affect their attendance policy, which may or may not affect funding. As long as there can be documentation and a way to kind of map that out for people, then I think you will have accountability on that side. And that's really important to write down and document with your continuous improvement plan or your WASC plan or any kind of department action plan or student body, like a student technology council, where you have input from your students and other stakeholders, parents, or an ELAC group, or your foundation. It's really good to get their input and then bring together different departments, uh, like our technology department, for like culminating projects, capstone projects, or workforce readiness projects, different things like that, that will really demonstrate the school's overarching learning objectives. We're calling them student learning objectives, or they used to be expected school-wide learning results, the ESLERs. And some schools still have something similar, where they have school goals every year. And then there's a project that ties into those goals and demonstrates that. So this would be an overview of what I've really done this year. It's really been a critical piece of the puzzle to see all of these courses in play. And so what we did was have blueprints, a blueprint, BP, blueprint course for every teacher. So even if you have new teachers coming in, having that digital library blueprint course ready for August was critical. And then there was a hello model. So the students' very first thing they would do the first couple of days would be to work through this model and having a sense of how this is going, how this medium would run. And then there are units here that the teacher can beef up with actual lessons and modifications inside. And then teachers would be able to um, use this in class. They could have this as a talking point in class, and that's very critical. And there would be audio to it, of course.
Unit 1, Personal Information, page 6, Lesson A, Exercise 1B.
It obviously corresponds with the book.
Area code.
Country.
So This is very useful if you're an ESL teacher. And I think as a first week of a school year, this is very critical to have a good sense of this. So if I were a brand new teacher coming into this school, I would be able to instantly have access to a blueprint course. I don't need to really go stretch and find curriculum, which before I came to work here, there was no curriculum. Teachers just went to Goodwill and got old books, or went to districts and got old textbooks that that district was getting rid of. And they asked them, hey, can we have your old books? And so then they would kind of cobble together lessons that they thought the students would be interested in. So now everything is it's a proper program, and teachers have been trained in using all of this technology. And what's nice is that if you are not using a unit, you can collapse that unit, and these units can be moved around in the medium. And you can see that this is not published. So if I only want the students to look at the information, I would publish it. And then if when they're ready to test, I would publish the test and then unpublish the test. It's quite easy to do that, a unit at a time. So they'll get a vocab focus, they'll get books. So this is very detailed and very useful. And then there's a midterm. So I think it's useful information. The units 1 through 5 can take them very neatly from September to December. Um, and it's very useful for the teachers to have all these supplementals available for them. You can see A, B, C, D, and E. And you have all the competencies here: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So all of these are very useful. It's intact. And that's one thing. And then the teachers also have something on their laptops called Ventures. And my hope is that this will be filmed if I'm able to do that. My hope is that my filming will continue as I'm showing you that, and it may or may not follow me there. But if you can see my desktop, you might be able to see this presentation plus. Um, and the students are able to work through this workbook as well, which we brought that on board. And they have a QR code. The QR code is the audio file. So all the students can actually have that audio file on their phones. So as they're leaving class, they can review exactly what was studied in their cars, in their car going home, or in the kitchen as they're cooking, whatever. And then there's links here with additional audio files and the arcade, which is something very useful that Cambridge has for all the different levels. You have the lowest when you're just trying out for basic and you're coming in, and then it progresses with similar themes. The theme stays the same, going up to level 4, and then we have citizenship, which also has uses questions here, and civics unit, which ties in with the co-op. So I very much recommend that teachers are able to keep this, and that other schools are able to work together in adopting this level of technology. I think this is where the future is going, in this kind of hybrid medium. And it's also streamlining the burden that our transit students don't have to carry heavy textbooks on the transit system, or heavy backpacks, or roller carts. It's really important that they get um, something different than has been happening prior to COVID. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this overview, and I hope it was interesting.